podcast family, welcome back to a brand new episode of Design Break Podcast. I'm your host, Rocky Roark. Today we're going to be jumping in to the final installment, closing out our game-changing mini-series on how communication can make or break your freelancing business. And we are closing out this mini-series with probably something that is more commonly overlooked overall, but is a very key determinant for long-term freelancing success. And that is post-project communication, something that a lot of people don't really think about. Once a single project is done, generally they don't really reach out or follow up with their clients, or if they do, it's sometimes 6 months or even a year later. And so a lot of times, like, this communication falls to the wayside. So if you've been with us on this journey, you know that we've unpacked everything from the initial email to setting up expectations with your client and managing non-creative feedback. But the question really comes is, what happens when the project is officially wrapped up? Is that the end of the line? Spoiler alert, it shouldn't be. All right, but before we jump in and really dive into today's episode, let's go back and let's talk about a hot topic. This is something that we discussed in a recent podcast episode 43, if memory serves me right. And that is on nurturing your network, to feed your future. So this is something that a lot of people don't think about. And this kind of, goes with today's episode. And that is that you don't think about reaching out to your network, or if you do it in a way that is just straight to an ask. Hey, do you know anyone who is looking for freelancers? Hey, do you know anyone that needs help with branding? Do you know someone that needs illustration work? Things like that. And honestly, the best way to really, work with your network is to nurture it. It's not to go in and just go for an ask. If we look at Gary Vaynerchuk, he has this very famous book, which is Jab, 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 Right Hook, right? Where basically you give, and then you go in for an ask. Now, I might not agree with everything that Gary Vaynerchuk says, but that is a great example, especially when it comes to nurturing your network. So what I like to do, and I've learned this over the years, I've gotten this from other people, and that is, I like to reach out to people. I like to start conversations. I like to kind of ask pointed questions, see if there's any pain points that they might be experiencing, see if there's anything they're working on that they might be struggling with or something like that. And then I like to offer, whether it's a article that I read that deals with something similar, a YouTube video I think they will like, or something along those lines. So I'm sharing with them value rather than just being like, hey, how are you doing? Are you looking for anyone to help you with that project? It's better to share and to give, because when you do that, you're making yourself more top of mind. You're making it to where people are, with something pops up with, let's say if you're a branding designer, if something pops up like, oh, we actually are about ready to go through a branding project. We're looking for a freelancer who can help us with a logo. You will be top of mind with that person, and they will, offer your contact information, things like that. And so when you do this, when you share value, when you engage with people, you create a solid relationship that can really help you over the long term, bringing in more work, bringing in more leads and things like that. So try to nurture your network versus just, squeezing the life out of them. But let's also do the listener of the week. And the listener of the week, or of this episode, is Walker John Moses. Walker John Moses, who has engaged with us on Twitter a little bit. He is the founder of Party Wave Studio. So thank you so much, Walker, for not only having an amazing name, Walker Texas Ranger. That's the first thing that came up. You probably have heard that a lot, just like people with me, Rocky Balboa. Thank you so much for being a listener of the podcast. Hopefully you're a listener, or at least engaging with us on social media. I really appreciate it. So let's dive into today's episode. So picture this scenario in your head, stay with me on this. The project is complete. The client is satisfied, and the final payment has been received. The project is done. It seems like it's time to part ways, but the decisions that you make at this juncture can set the stage for a continued relationship, future collaborations, and even new opportunities through referrals. This is something that a lot of people might not really think about. But just because the project is over, just because you've been paid, does not mean that you should walk away from the engagement unless there have been red flags, unless there are things that say to you, okay, I may not want to work with this person or this company, moving forward. Those sorts of situations, you might want to, drop them or remove them from your contact list. However, if there were people that you worked with during the project who were great to work with, who were engaging in things like that, keep them in your network. Connect with them on LinkedIn, follow up with them regularly. And when I say regular, I mean like any, 30, 90 days or something like that. But engage with those people. Just because you might not want to work with the brand or the company again, the people that you work with might be a valuable resource for the future because you don't know where they're going to end up. Betty could be working at this startup today, and then next thing you know, she's the CEO of the next Fortune 500 company. You never know where these people can end up. So you never want to burn bridges. So in today's episode, we're going to break down why the end of a project doesn't mean the end of communication. We'll delve into the significance of post-project reviews, the power of testimonials, and why maintaining a line of communication can be your secret weapon for business growth. Along the way, you'll learn various strategies to keep the conversation going and ensure that the project's end is merely a new beginning in your relationship with your client. So whether you're a seasoned freelancer or someone who's just getting their feet wet, you don't want to miss today's episode. We're going to equip you with actionable insights that can turn one-off projects into ongoing partnerships and single clients into network opportunities. The question is, are you ready to discover the art of effective post-project communication? Then buckle up, because here we go. Let's delve into the first part of this whole thing, which is, why the end of a project doesn't mean the end of communication. This is probably something that's very important to cover, because a lot of times, at least in the past, especially with younger freelancers, younger designers, people who are in college, people who might even be in high school, designing and freelancing. A lot of times, once you finish up a project, once the client is no longer paying you, you see it as, okay, we're done. We need to walk away. But the truth is that having an ongoing relationship, a long-term relationship, is full of potential value. It allows you to build rapport with people and, more importantly, trust. The more that you work with someone, the more that you give them, all-star results, the more they're going to trust you and the more they're going to trust to refer you to their friends, their family, to their bosses, the more likely they are to bring you on when they move to another company. Like I said, just a little bit ago, a lot of times these people that you work with, they start off in one role. Like they could start off as let's say a brand strategist for a company, right? The next thing you know is they've hopped 2 more companies since when you work together, and now they're head of brand for a company with 500 plus employees making $20 million a year. And so you can see like how these people can jump and just continue to go on and grow. I myself, like I prefer to have long-term contracts. I prefer to have long-term relationships with people. And I constantly am nurturing those leads. I'm constantly going back and reaching out to them, whether it's over LinkedIn, whether it's text message, email. I have calls with them, because the thing is that even if they're not going to hire you again, you can get some valuable insights. A great way or a great reason for having an ongoing relationship is that you can gather insights into pain points that they may have, that their bosses may have, that startups may have. And then you can go through and use those pain points to write content. Some pain points might come up more and more often through different contacts that you have. And so if you write a piece of content on one specific pain point that someone else has, you can then send them a link to your website, to your blog, or wherever it is that you have the article, and you can show like, oh, I actually talk about that in this article here. You're providing value, and you're providing value that is tailored specifically for that pain point. So the bottom line here, with an ongoing relationship is, it's often more valuable than a one-time project. You could look at something and say, oh, well, this project only made me $500, right? But if you continue down that relationship, if you continue to nurture it, if you continue to push, not push onto them, but if you continue to just like build a rapport with, these clients, with these individuals at these startups and stuff, then you never know what you could bring in. One thing that someone shared with me a while back when we were talking about like CRMs, which is could stand for a couple different things. It could stand for client relationship management or customer relationship management. We were talking about this. We were showing each other like how we build out our systems, and they actually had something interesting with theirs. They actually had listed. They actually had a category or like a column on their spreadsheet that they used for their CRM, where it had LTV, or lifetime value. So how much value has that specific individual brought to them, whether it's through direct work or whether it's through referrals. And you'd be surprised at how much certain individuals will bring value to you, especially when it comes to monetary value. I had one specific person who that I worked with for many years. We haven't worked together in the last couple of years, but we worked together quite a bit. And they actually, if I went through and I had to categorize their LTV, their lifetime value, it honestly could be over $50,000, And so that project, or the first project that we worked on, I was fresh out of college. I was probably not a month out of college, and it was for, I think, a $200 project, a quick little couple of icons that they wanted. The last time that we worked together, which I believe was 2020, the project was, I think, $15,000, if I remember correctly. And so when you look at that and you see that, we went from $200 to $15,000. However, we also look at, referrals. That same person referred someone to me in 2022 that was an ongoing client relationship. An ongoing client relationship that I believe has since brought in, I don't even know, I want to say $25,000 maybe. So you can see this, like how it climbs, and how, seeing like what people can bring in is pretty impressive. Now, that specific person, except for when I was an early freelancer, I don't go around asking that person like, hey, do you have any work? Do you know anyone that needs work? Instead, what I do is I'll engage with them from time to time. I'll see how they're doing. I'll check in. I'll see how, their current role is going. I'll ask about their family, because we've chatted about family and everything. And then they sometimes will reach out to me and just ask, how I'm doing. So we have this like check-in that we do like every few months. I think the longest we've gone without talking is maybe about 6 months. And that's been what? Over a decade. Well over a decade of time, right? Yeah, well over a decade of time for this entire relationship, and they have brought in a large sum of money. So I just went way too more into detail than I was expecting to go in that. So let's continue down. And other reasons, for why the end of a project doesn't mean the end of communication is, like we said, future work. This future work could be additional projects. It could be referrals. It could be retainers. There's a lot that can go into it. And speaking of referrals, referrals are probably one of the best ways that freelancers or small studios can bring in work. From 2016 all the way to 2021, when I kind of closed down Blue Cyclops, my studio, we didn't really close because we still did some projects here and there while I was working full time. But during that time, the biggest contributor to leads to new work coming in was word of mouth. It was referrals from not only clients but also people within my network. And so it was definitely very, very important. Having, those people that you can reach out to, having that network can really help overall. And so the last part I'm gonna touch on with this section of the episode is, and it kind of doesn't really fall into this section. It probably should be in something farther down. We'll probably talk a little about it a little bit more. Is updates and maintenance. So this is very important when it comes to post project communication with clients, because the one thing a lot of people do is they might reach out to the client once in a while, anywhere from 6 months or a year or a couple of years down the line, and they'll ask, hey, do you guys need anything else? How's everything going? Is there's any needs that are on the horizon that you guys might need me to help you with? That is fine. Honestly, it's probably not the best approach when it comes to building and nurturing, your network, and especially old clients and everything. Instead, what I always suggest to people is create a schedule. Create a schedule to reach out to these specific former clients, the former or the people that you work with on the projects and everything. Those are probably the best things that you can do, is having some sort of schedule. What I like to do is I like to send a follow-up 30 days after a project. I like to send a follow-up 90 days after, and then usually 120 to 150 days. So I'll do like 3 follow-ups, 3 or 4 follow-ups over that time. After that, I set a general every quarter or two, I follow up with them. From my experience, when I set this schedule, when I go through and I reach out and I follow up with these clients, with these former leads, is that, for one, it allows me to ask questions. It allows me to see like what has been going on since we worked together. It also lets me see metrics. So I can ask them questions like, oh, was there any major improvements from the work that we did together on project A? Did you see a clear, ROI, return on investment, from the stuff that we worked on together? And so what that allows you to do is it allows you to collect these metrics, and it allows you to use those in case studies. It allows you to use them in marketing materials, capabilities decks. You can show that, oh, we helped, on average, we have an ROI of about, 200% or something like that with your clients. And so by having this like maintenance schedule, you're able to gather this information. You're also able to, ask them, if, everything's going well, if everything is positive, you have a positive reaction or reception from them, a positive rapport is even better. Better way to say it. If you have this like positive rapport, with these former clients, you can even ask them, do you know of anyone that might need our help? But that shouldn't be the first thing you ask. That should be what you should ask, on a call. It should be what you ask after you've asked those other important questions, like, how are you doing? Did you see any ROI or anything like that with this current project? Were there any metrics that you wanted to share with it? Because you want to just like see like how the relationship went. You should never ask someone who didn't like the work that you did. You should never ask someone who may not have gotten value from the work that you did, because they're not going to share those positive things. So anyway, the bottom line with this is maintenance isn't an upsell. It's an ongoing kind of like value proposition. So let's switch gears and let's go to the next section with this, which is the value of post-project reviews. So like I said right previously, is one of the biggest things with post-project reviews is being able to gather key metrics for project success. ROIs, milestones, client satisfaction. More importantly, gaining testimonials from your clients. This is like the best time too. The best time to get testimonials is right after the project. Sometimes I will even ask for testimonials before the project has ended, because you're top of mind. You're more likely to get a positive review from a client right then and there, or get a more detailed, testimonial from the client. Other times what I do is, I will ask in the survey, I'll send like a post-project survey, and I will share, or I will ask, would you be willing to write a review or write a testimonial? Now, I will say this, in those situations where I have asked through a survey, I have a success rate of like 10%. 10% when asking through survey, versus if I ask the client directly during a meeting. If I asked right before the project ends, or like probably like 3/4 of the way through the project where they still are seeing plenty of value, there is let's say a rate of return of about 40% when it comes to asking during that time. When I ask right after the project has ended, and I usually will have to send a couple of follow-up emails after that asking for it, the success rate is probably about 20%. So you can see here the when you're asking during a project or towards the end of a project, higher rate of return of getting testimonials versus asking during a survey or asking after the engagement. The point here is, make sure to gather this information. Gathering, metrics allows not only you, but it also allows your client to kind of reflect and to get a quantifiable measure of success. The next thing too with this is reflective learning. So this is through self-assessments. This is by figuring out like what lessons did you learn during the project, and it allows you to also find areas of improvement. And this is very important. We should always be looking for areas of improvement when it comes to the way that we work, our processes, and things of that nature. So, for instance, this could be sitting down and doing a retrospective. If you're a solo designer, you could go through and have like ChatGPT write up a self-assessment after a project. Very easy to do, and they'll give you a good list of questions to ask yourself. But sitting down and reflecting on what went right, what went wrong, how did we pivot, how did we change, how do we fix things. Also, reflecting on the client, like seeing, okay, was this client receptive to feedback? Was this client looking for just a yes person, or were they receptive to you saying no? Basically going through and really reflecting on a lot of different data points with the project from start to finish, and then even after the project finish, like the handoff and getting payment from the client. But by going through and by gathering all the information, you can decide a lot of different things. You can decide, will you want to work with that client in the future? Who were the people that really that you really were able to work with during the project, who you could easily see being a major part of your network in the future. And more importantly, it really helps to improve your processes. A lot of times, I did this a lot when I was earlier in my career, where I would change up my process every single project. I would change things up, see what worked, see what didn't. And the biggest mistake I made was I wouldn't reflect on how it went, or what I learned, or what I did wrong. And so I don't have those data points from earlier in my career that I wish I did, because it would allow me to see, it would also allow me to see growth, but it would allow me to see, okay, I tried that, it didn't work. I need to keep going, or I need to change, and I need to pivot. So this overall, and this goes into the next part here, this kind of identifies the areas of improvement, and this can be, again, with your self-assessment, but more importantly, it can be with feedback loops from the client themselves. Like I said before, I like to share a survey with clients after a project, after engagement, see like, okay, what areas worked, like what was working with the overall engagement, what wasn't working, where could we improve upon. And so a lot of times, like, clients are a little hesitant to go in and to share, or they may overshare information. And what I like to do is, when I share out the survey with clients, I let them know, like, we're looking for areas of growth. We're looking for, information. It doesn't have to be sugar coated. You don't have to say that you loved us, that you loved working with us. We want to know where we can improve upon for not only our next clients, but also for you, hopefully when you come back for additional work. So we're setting the stage for them to come back for more. So it's very important, there's always room for improvement, and it's all about just finding out where we need to improve. The other part of this is that doing these things really helps to strengthen the relationships with these clients. Client involvement, having accountability on both sides, being transparent about it, being open to feedback, and being open to change and pivot when necessary, which often does happen, is all very important. A post-project kind of review can be a stepping stone to a deeper relationship with your clients. And overall, it breeds the best type of clients overall. All right, so now let's jump into the third area here. We have two more like kind of sections for this episode that we're going to talk about, but this one we're going to dive in deeper on the importance of testimonials, and how testimonials are very important, as we all know. And the biggest thing is because of social proof. A testimonial is one of the best forms of social proof when it comes to any type of freelancer or design studio or agency or whatever it is that you're working under. And it's best used, of course, websites, social media, and also in your proposals, capability stacks, and things like that. Testimonials provide external validation of your services. It allows people to see, okay, they have done this work before. People were happy about it. They did a good job. Okay, I feel a little bit better about working with them. I would say that early on in my career, especially when I was a freelancer in college and just out of school, I really did not think too much about testimonials. I didn't really ask so much about testimonials because I didn't see the value in them. The older you get, the more experience you get as a designer, as a freelancer, you're going to see that testimonials are the backbone of building trust with your clients. It allows you to really help to sell your work without you having to do the selling. The clients, the people who are giving you the testimonials, those are the people who are doing the selling. They're selling your services for you through your testimonials. And like I said, it's great for marketing materials. It's good for case studies. It's good for proposals or capabilities decks, websites. A good testimonial is a versatile marketing tool. It's something that will always help you out. And there's honestly not really any negative drawbacks to having a testimonial on your website, unless they say, something negative in it. And a lot of times when you gather testimonials from your clients, they even tell you, if you need to tweak it, feel free to tweak it. Now, they're not saying like completely change the language, put words in their mouth, but what they're saying is, you can take out certain parts of it, or you can take little excerpts and use those in certain areas. Especially if you need a short testimonial or if you need a longer testimonial. And a lot of times I've found my happiest clients are more than willing to share or willing to tweak their testimonials to specific needs. So for instance, if you are a web designer who is looking to branch into doing illustration work or offer illustration work, if they had illustration work done by you for their website, you could be like, can you focus on illustration work? So they can tailor their testimonials to the specific needs that you have. And so it's a very good relationship builder for sure. The other two thing is, again, just like with the other areas, is client retention. Satisfaction. If a client is satisfied enough to where they're going to write a testimonial for you, they are most likely going to want to work with you again in the future. So if you get a testimonial from a client, very good possibility that you'll be working with them again soon. So asking for a testimonial can really help boost these retention rates. All right, and then the last section we're going to talk about today is maintaining a line of communication for future opportunities. So this goes back to what we were kind of saying in that first section where we talked about maintenance and everything. And so check-ins are probably one of the most important parts of this. And honestly, doing a check-in, continuously with any client, at least, or especially clients who, that you were able to provide value to, they provide value to you, you've worked with multiple times in the past, or that you want to work with in the future. Check-ins are very important. And what it comes down to comes down to timing, frequency, and relevance. What I like to do is I have a CRM. I use Notion for my CRM. It's basically a database of a bunch of people that I have worked with, that I know, that I interact with, that are friends of mine, that are clients, are former coworkers. I believe there's probably over 500 to 2,000 people in that CRM. And it allows me to set a schedule for reaching out to people. And at the height of my freelancing in between 2019 and 2020, I had a daily ritual where every single day I would reach out to 5 to 10 people. And I would schedule on these days specific individuals to reach out to. And sometimes I would have specific frequency of reaching out to them. Because sometimes when you send out a message to someone or an email, you might not get a response. And that's probably because they're busy, or they might respond and let you know that they're busy. And so what I like to do is, like I said, after a project, I like to set it up to where I reach out after, 30 days, 90 days, 120 to 150 days, just to check in, see if there's new metrics on the project and things like that. When it comes to my regular CRM, and so these might be referral partners instead of just former clients, I like to reach out to someone at least every 60 to 90 days. If they go over that, they really start to go cold. And so you kind of have to like reintroduce yourself, not really introducing yourself, but like, kind of like go in there and start a conversation completely from scratch, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I generally like to follow up every 60 to 90 days with people within my CRM, just because it keeps you relevant, it keeps you top of mind. And what I'm looking for when I reach out to the people is I don't just go and be like, oh yeah, things are great with me. This is the things I'm doing with Blue Cyclops, things like that. I first like to, start a conversation, see what's going on with them. How's everything going at X studio? How's everything going at Z agency? And I like to really get them, conversating over just like me talking about business and everything. I want them to ask me about my business. I want them to ask me, how is everything going with freelancing or with growing Blue Cyclops? Those are my goals overall. So having these regular check-ins, allows you to be top of mind and hopefully spur any types of thoughts of like, oh, wow, we actually have a project coming up. We want to hire Rocky. We want to hire Blue Cyclops for this. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Another thing, too, is updates on your end. So if there are any new, if you like put a new website up, if you win awards, if you have new case studies that go up, if you're having some sort of like sale offer, so like limit time offers, client only discounts, if your pricing is going up, reaching out to your past clients and letting them know like, hey, just want to give you guys a heads up. We're going to be increasing our prices at the end of this quarter. If you would like to, you can lock in some time at our current rate, pay a small deposit or something like that. And some clients will do that. Whenever I've posted about increasing prices or reached out about like that we have one open spot in our queue, generally I'll get a couple of clients who might be interested or have potential projects coming up, and they'll find a way to work with you. So just some things to keep in mind overall. Then, of course, there's also holiday greetings, birthdays, especially if you know people's birthday you can get from LinkedIn, or if you follow them on social media and you see that they celebrate their birthday, sending a nice, thoughtful message to them over LinkedIn, DM over Twitter, or an email just letting them know like, happy birthday, hope you had a great time with your family and everything like that. Just in those situations, do not ask for anything. These small gestures can be a big impact in maintaining a relationship, but you're not there to be like, oh, hey, happy birthday. By the way, do you need any help with anything? You are not a used car salesman. You should not be going after hard sells like that at all. And then the final thing that we'll talk about here is industry insights. And so, this is good if you happen to see posts that they share on LinkedIn, where they talk about like trends, or they talk about pain points that they might have, and it might be good to send them an email about industry insights. The other thing too that you can send, and this is something that I'm experimenting with as we speak. I'm actually about ready to start this probably this week or next, is sending out trend surveys to past clients to kind of see like what their pain points are right now. What are some things that they, are looking forward to? What are some things that they're dreading? Is there any issues that they foresee for the future and things like that? And what that does is it allows you to gather information that you can then create content on. It's things that you can then use in your next communication with those clients. Check in like, oh, hey, are you still having your pain point A? Or have you found a solution for it, just out of curiosity? So it allows you to continue the conversation and really give value as well as get value from these interactions. And there we have it, folks. This one is probably the longest in the entire series, but we've reached the end of our transformative mini series on how communication can make or break your freelance business. As always, I'm your host, Rocky Roark, and today we put the spotlight on an aspect of freelancing that often gets relegated to the back burner, and that is post-project communication. During this whole thing, we ventured into uncharted territory beyond project completion, exploring why it's crucial to maintain ongoing communication with your clients. We talked about post-project reviews, the power of testimonials, and a variety of strategies. I went above and beyond in sharing strategies to keep the lines of communication open for future collaborations. But remember, the end of a project doesn't have to be goodbye. It can very well be a see you later. Before we close out, I want to reflect on our post-project practices. Are you missing out on valuable feedback, long-term relationships, or future opportunities because you closed the door too soon? Could implementing some of these approaches we discussed today change the trajectory of your freelance business? So if you found this series valuable, please consider sharing it with whoever you think could benefit, whether it's a fellow freelancer or an up-and-coming designer looking for practical advice. Your feedback and engagement mean the world to me. So please don't hesitate to reach out with your thoughts, questions, and ideas for future episodes. I want to give every one of you a heartfelt thank you for accompanying me on this journey of this new mini series. This is actually our second mini series. The first one was on pricing. This is our second one on communication, or second one, and it's on communication. Your time and everything is just so valuable. So I appreciate you listening to these episodes. I appreciate you watching these videos and everything. It really means a lot. If you are not already, please subscribe to Design Break Podcast, wherever you get your podcasting fix. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube. A lot more content is going to be coming out from my YouTube channel at Rocky Roark. And as always, remember to follow us on Twitter. More information coming there as well. We don't know what the future holds for our Design Break Podcast, what the next episodes are going to be. But until next time, continue to break through those design barriers and elevate your freelance business to unparalleled heights. Catch you on the flip side. Hope you guys have a great day. And remember to stay passionate, stay positive, and stay creative. That's it for me. Bye.